everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know what it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast with MSOT Rocks where rock and metal thrive. Wish you guys a happy Tuesday. It is December 8th, and we have an early Christmas gift for you where my contact over at AmSplitter PR, his name is Tim. He sent us a lot of great bands, and I've gotten connected with him. Like, he was the guy I got contact with Kill the Lights. He sent us guys like Saul, Simon McBride, Eagle Kill Talent, Avat, and plenty more. And he sent me another great one saying that check out this band. They're a heavy metal instrumental band that I think you're going to like. I'm like, ooh, I've never had an instrumental band on the podcast. Well, let's see what they got. And their sound is absolutely incredible. Absolutely love it. It's heavy. It's fast-paced. A little genty at times with 2 8-string guitars. And I think you guys are going to absolutely love it. Listen to their 4th Phase EP. It's called The 4th Phase, mind you. And I got to talk to the bassist, Chris, all about it, and it is incredible. Plus, you get to hear his take on him as a bassist and how his classical training and jazz training has helped him out a lot in terms of just being able to improvise with this band and being able to do what they need to do. So please welcome Chris from the band Kallias to the podcast. Are you guys ready? It's an early Christmas gift for you guys. Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. This is a little bit of a different band that I've had recently because, well, I've never had a band on that was purely instrumental at this point, and this is going to be the first one of that, so this is a whole new world for me, but if you listen to their sound, it is absolutely incredible, so please welcome the band Kallias, Chris. So, Chris, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for being on. How are you today, sir, on this? Well, we're shooting on a Monday, so how are you on this Monday?
I'm doing well. Just played some bass, got some practicing in, did some screaming on some vocals, just a typical Monday for me.
Just a typical Monday. Not a bad way to spend a Monday either, because, I mean, right now it's starting to get cold outside. Well, I'm not sure in your part of the world, but where I'm right now, it's starting to get cold outside. Woke up this morning, my car was all frosty, so I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I'm in New York, so definitely feeling that. I spend a lot of time outside when I can and hiking and stuff, so it's been pretty windy here. Definitely feel that winter coming soon.
Right, are you in upstate New York, though?
No, not too far upstate. No, I'm in Westchester area, just north of the city.
Okay, because I don't really know much about, like, when you started talking about hiking, I'm like, okay, I'm assuming somewhere more upstate where that'd be a lot more, what's the word, apt to be had, just because then you're not stuck in the city where everything's kind of just, everything flat, buildings everywhere, unless you want to start, like, hiking and scaling buildings. I mean,
yeah, no urban hikes for me, really. I'm, get out in the forest and just get away from it.
And especially with everything that's happened this year, that is never a bad idea.
Absolutely. You'd be surprised how many people are out there now, though. Everyone wants to get out of the city. Everyone's trying to get out into the countryside, and those parks are full of people.
We'll see what happens in the next month or so when stuff starts getting colder and people are just going to be like, I don't want to brave the cold.
No, I hear you. I'm waiting for it. I was out this weekend. I figured no one would be there, but it just hasn't gotten cold yet. So maybe when the frost comes, maybe that'll be my time.
Maybe when the frost comes to like after Thanksgiving-ish, when all of a sudden it's just people start getting the Christmas spirit as well, because, well, when the podcast airs, we'll be in that Christmas time spirit. So maybe everyone's like, oh my gosh, want to just spend time inside watching Christmas movies, baking Christmas cookies, doing all that fun stuff. And then the wilderness is just open to your disposal.
That's right. Yeah. Got to get my cabin in the woods for that time.
Yeah. And, well, I always like to start out with something like this, but I think you kind of just did what I was going to do, because I always start out with letting you introduce yourself with your name, what you do in the band, and then also a fun fact about yourself, but I need it to be the wackiest thing possible. But I think hiking just in the bitter cold and waiting to get to that part so that people clear out and you can just have the wilderness all to yourself, I think that kind of fits into that moniker. So I think you kind of already did it without even knowing it.
Sweet. I'm glad I can just roll with it here. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm the guy that pulls into the parking lot in the middle of the winter to go hiking, and it's the only car there. So.
Hey, then you have the whole place to yourself, and then you can just like start throwing snowballs at wild animals if you ever feel like it, which I don't condone necessarily, but I've seen some people do it. Everyone kind of did that as a kid. Like, ooh, squirrel. Ha!
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Maybe get a deer or something.
It's kind of like deer hunting in a way. I mean, where I'm from, because I'm from Wisconsin, it's just like, we're shooting this right around deer hunting season, so everyone's getting ready to
Oh,
go
okay.
up north, dress all in orange so that they're clearly visible, and then just sit in a tree stand for 10, 11 hours waiting for just maybe one deer to pass by.
Got to get that deer for the winter.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I've never done that before. I've kind of always wanted to do it, but I've never, as I had a lot of my friends that were doing it, but my family never really got into it, so I never really had the time to they're the full on will to just learn or just basically go with somebody else. Like, hey, can I just tag along going deer hunting with you guys? Like, that just seemed kind of weird.
Yeah, growing up in Connecticut, the only deer you really, there was no deer hunting as they walked past your front yard or in your friend's house. No hunting in Fairfield County around that area. You got to go out to Pennsylvania, maybe.
But then that's not too far from Connecticut. I mean, 'cause you guys got to go through New York.
Yeah, not too bad, but yeah, no hunting where I'm from, and definitely similar where never did the hunting thing. Thought about it, but I think right now I'm happy the way my food arrives. Just nicely prepared already. Just I can think I'm good. I think I'm good just skipping all the crazy steps there that someone takes care of for me. But I could see that the connection.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you either, just because even for myself as well, it's just the only thing I've really done that's more like in that like hunting or like kind of capture your own food kind of thing is every year going up north, like for a week, we'll end up fishing. It's usually me and my grandpa and my little cousin, while our whole family's up there, but it's usually the three of us that just end up fishing. And this past year, my little cousin, my grandpa, man, they were catching all these different kind of panfish, like bluegills, crappies, perch, all that good kind of stuff. And everything that I caught died because they swallowed the hook so far down. It's like, I got to get it out somehow. And it's just like, well, or they're way too small. So by the time they were done fishing, it's like, okay, we got to clean these fish. They look right at me. It's like, you got to do it now.
Oh man. Yeah, I didn't do much fishing growing up other than a little bit under the bridge in Greenwich or in Connecticut again, just catching snappers or baby striped bass. But of course, you got to send them back because you can't keep those.
Yeah, like the little baby ones. I mean, you got to wait till they're full grown, and then you can have yourself quite a nice meal.
Oh yeah.
Ah man, I'm getting hungry. I even ate fish before we started this podcast too. So you're making me even hungrier for fish, man. What the hell?
I went in just being Italian. I had some raviolis with some pork braciole before we got started.
Okay, now you're making me even hungrier than I just was. You're killing me out here, man.
Sorry, man. It's the Italian side of me sneaking out.
But not only am I hungry for more food, I'm also hungry for some good heavy metal kind of music, which obviously after listening to you guys after the contact from Adam Slitter sent me your stuff, I was like, holy crap, dude.
Thanks. Yeah. It's always a good time for some heavy.
Oh, so I was going to say, let's dive right into it. So when it comes to Kallias, wait, did I say that right again? I always forget. Okay. So when it comes to Kallias, I was trying to find some stuff on the band because I wanted to know kind of the whole history behind it, kind of how everything came together. But I could not find really anything online when it comes to history. All I know is that you guys released an EP at the end of October, and that was about it. So this is kind of all mystery to me. I'm like gonna be like Scooby-Doo or Sherlock Holmes trying to figure this out. So what all happened with you and the rest of the band when it came to forming Kallias and then going forward, producing this heavy metal sound that you guys came up with, sticking with the instrumental style, and then releasing this EP?
Yeah, so this project was, put together really with Zachy and Nicole. They got put together with JP, who was our drummer, and I've known Nicole for a number of years. We've been in a couple different bands together, and we had a little bit of a hiatus the last couple of years, and she went and discovered another 8-string guitar player, which I know was kind of near and dear to her heart. That was kind of her journey, is trying to find that 8-string partner in crime, so to speak. We were in a previous band called Meridium, where we were also instrumental group, and it was just one guitar player, just herself. And so she was looking to expand and have that second guitar player. So I do think JP connected them, and JP knows Zachy for a number of years as well, just through Zachy's studio and some of the. For those of you who don't know, Zachy is not only is he a guitar player, but he's actually a pretty nasty drummer as well. So JP and Zachy spent a lot of time hanging out in their drum circles, playing riffs back and forth, and so the three of them got together, and they were writing for a while, and they were getting together, they were playing, and like any guitar player, eventually they realize they're missing something. They're missing the bass player. I mean, they have so many strings where I think a lot of bands think about it. What can you do? You can do so much more with 8 strings. I know Meshuggah in the beginning didn't have a bass player, but Nicole wanted to bring me in and see what I could bring to the project, because they started playing with some other people, and they really wanted to see what would happen if we bring in that fourth element, because they had been vibing so well, writing, the music had just been flowing. So they didn't want to, change that. They didn't want to affect it negatively. So they had to find that right piece. And so they brought, Nicole came over to my place with Zachy one day. I had no idea she was, Nicole, I had no idea she was bringing anyone. She just kind of shows up, and she's like, I got the guitar player. He plays 8 string. Really, we got some music. Check it out. And they put on, a demo for, I think they put on Light. And I was just like, you wrote this? And it was really cool because I've been looking for something that was more technically challenging. And this music really brought that forward for me. So, I'm a bass player, a jack of all trades. I love metal, I love hard, heavy music. But as you can see behind me, I have my upright bass. I have my 5-string over there, and I have my 6-string behind me, which is what I play in Kallias. And I have a lot of classical training, a lot of jazz training, and getting the opportunity to play music that I loved that was also technically challenging was really exciting to be a part of. So I went in. Well, first I like, send me these songs, because I'm not showing up to rehearsal without getting these songs and at least showing up, being able to play one, because I can't show up and play this music. And I think that's the challenging part with finding musicians. When it comes to metal, it's like you don't meet them at a jam one day, and the music is technical, and it's very challenging to just kind of jump into. So I really wanted it to rehearse, and I showed up, got my opportunity to play with them, and the vibe was right. Me and JP meshed, pretty quickly with our playing, and I think that's really important. It takes time to develop as a bass and drummer. You're kind of feeling each other out, and we did that for a few weeks, and then a couple of months, and then before you know it, we're all starting vibing as a group. And then the more writing happened, and with the just the way that I've always been writing with Nicole and the projects that we've done, COVID hasn't affected us too much, because we do a lot of writing and a lot of communicating all like this remotely. She's very often 3,000 miles away in California, so sometimes we do a lot of stuff just like this. And
I was gonna say, that's a good thing that COVID really didn't hinder you guys in any way, due to the fact that you're already set up for success being so far away. Even with the full-time job that I work right now, it's like when we had to go remotely because of COVID, there were only 2 of us that actually worked out of the office out of 6 people. So going remote was literally just like no change for us. So I kind of get where you're coming from, where it's like if you're going to be writing with Nicole, you're going to be constantly doing stuff like Zoom calls or Skype calls. You're going to be sending each other stuff back and forth. You're never going to necessarily be in that room together. But the fact that you guys already had that going on before this whole entire COVID thing happened once it did, it's like you guys didn't skip a beat at all. It was just all natural, just going forward. And except maybe you had a little bit more time to write because everything else was shut down. So what are you going to do during that time when you're not at work? You're going to end up
Yeah,
writing.
the craziest thing is, I don't know if you're probably not aware, but we actually had our debut shows scheduled for May 2020. And we had been promoting a show with a bunch of local artists, and yeah, so Zachy was putting that together. We had a bunch of people working to put that together, and it was just like watching that clock. We were just watching the clock go down and realizing, you know what, that's not going to happen. And sure enough, I mean, when talking about timing, it was literally a week before the show date that most of the shutdowns happened and the stop works happened. And that was pretty challenging for us, but again, it did give us that opportunity to focus in and do more writing and kind of make sure we get ahead of it. Having the opportunity to partner with the Orchard and having the opportunity to try to have more creative ways to reach listeners is been exciting in a way. It's obviously really new for everyone. And we look forward to what 2021 is going to be like. Hopefully, we get the opportunity to play live. But if not, we're gonna try to come up with more creative ways to reach our fans. And if that comes through, live, capturing yourself playing live with a bunch of buddies, to get a videographer to come in and share that with everyone. Whatever you can do to connect with people, and we try to do that as much as possible through our IG and every social media outlet we can get our hands on.
Yeah, and you're not the only ones that are dealing with this as well. I mean, every single band all over the world is dealing with this, where right when the shutdown happened, I mean, because it happened all across the world too, bands were consistently trying to find ways in order to basically stay ahead of the curve and just stay relevant in the public eye, or in the community's eye as well, for rock and metal. So we had so many people doing so many different things, and a lot of it did stay attentive on social media, especially during that first month or two, due to the fact that everyone was at home. Everyone was constantly looking for something new. We all couldn't watch Tiger King 3 straight times, though I actually never watched it, because I was constantly looking at all the new music that was coming out that time too, and kind of figuring out, like, for myself, how can I keep growing all my stuff? I'm like, oh, let's start interviewing a lot more bands, because what else are they going to be doing right now? And it just kind of worked out that way. So in that sense, with what you guys were doing, you were constantly trying to stay ahead of the curve in order to make sure that when live shows came back, that you would have a larger audience than you would have than if you would have been doing those live shows when they were initially planned.
Yeah, exactly. And thinking about, again, those ways of meeting fans, right? So we when we were thinking, how do we release an EP, and if we can't play a show, how are they going to know who we are? What do we look like? What is our style when we're on stage? What kind of force do we bring, right? And I think that's why we wanted to release the record alongside our music video for Black Dream, because we really wanted to have the listener have that visual side of the experience. I think it's really important to kind of mesh those two together, because when you go to a concert, sure, you close your eyes at times, but you're there because you want to observe, right? And you want to feel like you're a part of it. You want to see and feel that energy. And that's, if you check out Black Dream, our music video, I think you're going to get a sense of what we're going to bring to the stage when you do get a chance to see us.
Well, first off on that, everyone check out the Black Dream video right after this podcast, because, well, yeah, we're going to push that because we feel like it. and second off, I'm a big fan of concerts. I've missed concerts like crazy. Even today, as we're shooting this, I was set to go to a show back in June it was Whitechapel, and As I Lay Dying was the headliner. And I was super excited because I loved As I Lay Dying's album from 2019. Then it got rescheduled all the way back to March of 2021. I'm like, okay, at least we're getting a date on it. And just today, the day we're shooting, I got an email that said, yep, it's fully canceled. I'm just sitting here thinking, you gotta be kidding me, another one?
Yeah.
Because it's something where with concerts, I've spoken about it a good amount of times, and I'm a big proponent of it, where there's just a sense of this community that comes within a concert setting because everyone's there to see the band that's going to be there. And the reason they're there is because they have some sort of positive connection with that band, whether it's they know somebody in that band and they want to support them, or if it's someone that really connects to their music. Everyone's there and they want to be there, and there's a positivity around it that just lets people enjoy it. It doesn't matter who the hell anybody is. All that matters is everyone's there to see that band and just have a great time. And it's just that's something that, especially in 2020 with everything that happened in the United States, that's something that we absolutely missed.
You know, and what's crazy is I just got to the point in my life where, you know what, I just started going to concerts by myself. I wasn't really a solo concert goer. Always like, I got a group of friends, right? Got to get everyone to go. Got to get in the van, right? You know?
Oh, yeah.
Got to all hop on the train. Maybe I'm just too nostalgic and think about my youth, but, you know, as I've gotten older, and I'm, you know, it's such a bummer, right, that this happened, but with COVID and the shutdowns, but I started going to a lot of shows by myself, and it's a completely different experience. And if those of you who haven't done it, I highly, highly suggest going to see some shows solo, because it's like traveling solo. For those of you who travel solo, you know the benefits, you know, you get to meet people and, you know, experience things you don't normally get to experience. And also, you don't have to be beholden to anyone else's needs or desires. You could do whatever the hell you want. And that's also what's great about being in a show. You don't got to get dragged to the bar. Hey, I'm going to get a drink. I got to go to the bathroom. Then you got to try to find the person. Listen, when you're by yourself, you're just in the zone. And you're just you and the band and the crowd. It's great.
When it comes to both going to concerts by yourself and both traveling by yourself, I have to absolutely agree with you 100%, because like last year, I don't know how many shows I went to, but I was mostly going to those shows myself, just because if I would go and like ask people, hey, you guys want to go? I'd sometimes get some yeses. I'd buy the tickets. It's like, hey, you know, let's all go. I'll get the tickets. I can get them. I've got the connections. Let's make it happen. And then all of a sudden it's, we can't go. And then they wouldn't pay for the tickets.
By the wayside.
Yeah, so now it's like, but you guys said you would go, and they wouldn't pay me back for the ticket that they said they were going to take. So it's like, okay, now I'm going to lose out, especially if I bought like 4 tickets. That's easy, like $100-$120, and I'm completely out. And it's like, well, what the hell? And then trying to resell them is a pain in the ass. But going by myself, it's just, like you said, you're not beholden to everybody, where someone wants to go get a drink. Okay, now everyone's got to go to the bar. Someone's got to go to the bathroom. Okay, and it's just trying to find someone in the end. And for me specifically, it's once that mosh pit gets going, I have such a hard time staying on the sidelines. Like, if someone pushes me in and I get hit right away, it is over. I am in there for the rest of the night, because there's this energy, positivity, there's this vibe that comes off of it. And there's gonna be people, it's like, oh, we don't want to be anywhere near that. It's like, well, I want to be near that, but if we all came together, it's kind of weird. So it's just
the best spot in the whole area, in the whole show, the whole arena. I mean, you got to stand, you know, wherever the pit is, the circle, you know, you got to stand right on the edge of it, so you get a nice clear view of the stage. No one's in front of you. You got to watch the, you know, the spinning roundhouse kicks that might fly by and the elbows, but you know, you get that like undivided, like, you know, just that perfect view of the stage.
Oh, absolutely. I remember last year for Riot Fest in Chicago, I was seeing Rise Against, and it was just how jam-packed everyone was in there. It was like super hot and muggy that night. So I was like, okay, I'm just trying to find some place where I can breathe. I saw a mosh pit form. I was just so happy. I'm like, oh, space, air, and I get to hit somebody. Yeah. I somehow made my way over there, and it was the best decision I made the whole night. But it's like, even like for people like myself, where I love jumping into the mosh pits, I'm not going to do the running. I'm not going to spin in, like punch and kick people. Like, I'll bash into people, like slam into them with my shoulder, you know, just because that's always fun. If I get knocked down, you know, I've got like 3 people coming to pick me back up. If someone else gets knocked down, like my hand's pretty much right there. Like, come on, get up on there, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always just a fun time. And I love doing that just because there's a lot of people that don't even want to go anywhere near that. It's like, but I want to go there. So I'm going to just go with concerts by myself and not be worried about that. Plus, the amount of people that you meet at those shows is crazy. It's like I have my own little like rock and metal family that I go to see shows with. Though we don't know, like no one knows each other's names. We all know each other's faces. That's about it.
That's great. No, that's good. That's, you know, that's, you guys just do that thing that you love together, man.
Yeah, and it's like there's times where all of a sudden it's just I see people, it's like, oh, hey man, where were you for the last show? Oh, I couldn't make it. I had like watch my daughter or something. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But you're here now. Yeah. But I have so much fun with that. But yeah, if once concerts come back and then once COVID's over, because then that's when traveling will start picking up again. if you have the means, if you want to do it, please, please, please give it a shot and go by yourself. It is one of the best decisions you'll make, and you'll enjoy every second of it.
Yep. And then and you get to just I find you have more opportunities to go talk to even the bands too. When you're in a group of people, it's a little intimidating, but when you're by yourself, I find myself more able to approach bands and talk to them, and get to spend some time see how their travels have been. So.
Oh, I agree with that too, because this year with there's been a couple of shows that have happened during, right as the shutdown happened, then during, but really small scale, socially distanced kind of stuff. It's bands that I've had in the podcast before, so it's I'm going to go support them. I want to go see them play. I want to see what happens. So, there's times I traveled to Chicago. I traveled up to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm from Milwaukee, by the way. And then I also traveled to the middle of nowhere in the middle of northern Wisconsin to see two bands that I've interviewed before. And I got to hang out with them after the show, talk with them, get to know them on a different level than I had even on the podcast. And
I hope that was in warm weather.
Let's see. The one in Chicago was in March. The one in Green Bay was in July, and the one in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, was the day after Labor Day. So it was. But when I went up there, man, it was 45 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It was cold day out night. I was oh man, this is gonna be interesting. And all I had was a t-shirt on. I'm oh, this is gonna be fun. But oh well, memories. But then again, once live shows get going back, I mean, we'll see we've got to see what happens with you guys, because again, you guys had those debut shows that you guys unfortunately had to get postponed because of this. But then once those live shows come back, what's the absolute plan with that, if there is a plan right now?
I mean, right now, it's tough, right? You can't even prepare for a live show because it's like everything else. It's phase 1, phase 2, back to phase 1, phase 3, phase 2. So, we definitely would be more than, excited to play a show, especially since, it's not very common that you release an EP before even sharing a stage together, so that's been a little bit different too. Knowing that we've been having the goal of playing live, and in this situation, just not having that opportunity. As a musician that is a working musician at times, I feel for all those people who can't, bring the bread to the table with the gigs anymore either. So, not only for new bands, but for working musicians of all likes, man, it's a bummer. I got an old jazz cat lives next to me, and every time I see him in the hallway, just, yeah, Chris, man, there's no gigs, man. There's no gigs, It's tough, but hopefully, we get those vaccines. Everyone gets pumped up, we're ready to mosh and sweat and grind all over a bunch of strangers in the middle of Gramercy and downtown.
Yeah, well, I mean, taking a look with that vaccine and everything, with what Pfizer had, and with from the previous week when we shot this, with their announcement that their phase 3 was completed and it had a 90% effective rate. And then the day we shot this, Moderna had theirs at 94.5 after phase 3. So it looks like there's multiple companies that are making multiple effective vaccines, so that when the time does come and they get rolled out, it's going to be, you're going to have more ability to get them. And then hopefully we can get back to having people play live shows, and for the fans, getting back to those live shows. And well, for me personally, just slamming into strangers and having a good time listening to some rock and heavy metal.
Right? I mean, come on. Even the simple thing of being able to walk by someone on a sidewalk without having to cross the street.
Oh yeah, or with your neighbor as well. Just you're walking down the street in a downtown setting, whether it's New York, where I'm from, Milwaukee, Chicago, or even if it's a smaller town, and just hearing music from inside, live music just from inside a venue, and just curious about it and just walk right in. I mean, can we get some of that back?
I mean, I don't even know what you're talking about. Is that a thing? Is that I visit Nashville all the time, and that's what it's like when you walk down Broadway in Nashville, but right now I don't know if it's like that. I don't know if the bands are playing right now.
I mean, I know there are some bands that are playing right now, but it's like all the shows that they're playing are very, very small or very, very minute to the point where it's like, okay, you're going to get like 50, maybe like for larger places, you're going to get 50, maybe 100 people to show up, but everyone's got to be spaced out. Everyone's got to abide by proper COVID protocols that municipality has. So it's all just a game of who's doing what. And not only that, but it all depends upon what state you're in as well, where it's in some of the more southern states here in the United States, you're seeing a lot more bands playing those smaller shows because they have the ability to. But if you come further north in the United States, it's not many people are doing that because just that's the way that the COVID regulations are right now.
So if anyone has a venue that has those pods that can host people safely, to give Kallias a call. We will show up and we will play. Have you seen those pods though? People are doing these shows and they have like their own little enclosed area to sit in.
I have seen something like that. I haven't seen anything like in an indoor setting. What I've seen is over in Europe, they were doing that in an outdoor venue where it's still, they're not pods, but it's still open air, but it's like these little like mini stages that people are standing on that are about 6 feet apart from a bunch of different other mini stages where it's like you have like 3 or 4 people on there. So there's stuff that is going on. Or I've even talked to a different band from Germany, and they've been playing some live shows outdoors, and they end up buying a fire truck, turn it into their own vehicle, and then they just play on top of it.
Well, you hear that? I mean, everyone wants to donate a fire truck to Kallias. Everyone want to rig a stage onto it. I'm ready.
I mean, if you guys, if someone has a fire truck they want to donate to Kallias, please do, because you get, I mean, a heavy metal fire truck. Come on. I've seen hard rock fire truck, but I want to see heavy metal fire truck.
I think it kind of just goes together really well.
It does all of a sudden, especially because then at one point you could even have the siren be a part of a song if you want to.
Oh, that's a given. Yeah, you have to.
So I want to jump a little bit further into Kallias' music itself due to the fact that, again, with you guys saying that you had those live shows booked for your debut shows, but they didn't really happen because, damn you, COVID. And then with the Fourth Phase EP coming out at the end of October, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, you guys were fully instrumental, and that was something that a band like that I've never actually interviewed on this podcast for. That's just the way it's happened. So what I want to know is, what was the decision to go purely instrumental?
Well, I think a lot of the times, in the projects that have been with instrumental, just something that kind of just forms naturally. The music that they put together was written without vocals, but we're not necessarily opposed to pursuing our future solely as an instrumental group. We've definitely thought about, bringing vocals in. We're, as musicians, I think, we don't want to ever close off doors and close off our minds to, what the music can do and how it can grow. So, we've tried to write our music in a way where it doesn't say this needs a vocal, right? Because that would be incomplete. So we try to write music that carries itself, melodically with the guitars or the arrangements that we put together. We try to do it so it's not like, okay, and now here comes the vocal, and then it's not there, right? But we're looking for someone in the future that could potentially add that element. We don't want to say we want a vocalist in this audition vocalist, and we want it to happen naturally. We want someone to bring something to the table that, elevates our music. We've tried a few people here and there. Nothing's clicked just yet. But anyone listening who's got some sick pipes, maybe loves to scream into the mic, maybe they're a trained opera singer, we definitely would be interested in hearing any contributions to the music. Because again, yeah, we definitely open to a vocalist in the future. We've actually explored writing in that way, and but as of right now, we are 4-piece instrumental, and we have a lot of material written that is still gonna bring that instrumental 4-piece to the forefront.
I do like that take on it when it comes to you're open to the fact that you could add a vocalist in there, but you're not actively pursuing it due to the fact that you don't want to force something that isn't there. You want to, if you're going to find someone to do some vocals on these songs, you want to make sure that it's someone that vibes with you guys, that fits within your realm and really complements not only the instrumentals, what they're doing, but also amplifies them at the same time. And then the instrumentals end up amplifying their vocals at the same time as well. You're looking for that perfect match. However, you're not forcing the issue at the same time either, because sometimes what I've seen bands do is when you force the issue, sometimes you put yourself in a situation where, yeah, you might get something that to go off on that, but it might not be the perfect fit, and it might end up taking away from the sound that was created and changing in a different direction that maybe you didn't want to go in at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, and the vocalist is sometimes can be the most fragile part, I think, of a group, as far as, you know, how much it can change the listener's perspective on the piece. And the reason why I say that is because not everyone's a musician, right? We all have emotions. We can all listen. We can all feel what we're hearing. But, you know, we all speak a language, right? And we all can hear these words, and we can connect with that on a much on a much more wider level. And I think when you introduce that vocal, you're going to either bring on a lot of people as just as much as you're going to turn off a lot of people. Right. And I think that's really important. You know, you can get people that aren't into heavy metal music to listen to us and to enjoy it. But then you bring someone, then all of a sudden you bring a vocalist who's just like, you know, and
Yeah.
the person's going to be like, I can't do this, you know, and because it's not for everyone. But
and that's completely understandable. One of the things I was thinking about that too is when you bring in a vocalist, it always seems to be the primary selling point for the band right away, is because the vocals are what people are always drawn into at the forefront of it. It's always the first thing they think about. And when some bands, like, they bring in different vocalists, and when you switch vocalists, very rarely do bands switch vocalists from one to another and the band either stays on that same level or grows. You're not going to get something with like Van Halen going from David Lee Roth to Sammy Hagar every single time. You're not going to get Bon Scott to Brian Johnson. You're not going to get that almost any time, because when people listen to music, they have such a connection to that sound, to that vocal style. Then you bring something else new in there on top of what the instrumental already has. It can throw people up for a complete loop if it doesn't fit perfectly within what they're expecting.
Another one was Killswitch Engage.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because they went back and forth. They had Jesse, then to Howard, and back to Jesse. So that's, you know, I don't know if any other band or any other fan has got to experience the original vocalist leaving a band and coming back.
Yeah, and then on their 2019 album with the song The Signal Fire, when all of a sudden they brought Howard Jones back in on that track, it was just, I just remember watching the music video for it. I'm like, damn, this is a pretty good track. It just needs something more. All of a sudden in the chorus, like in the music video, you see some guy just sitting there, and it's like, who's that? And then all of a sudden you see the back of like a bald head, and everyone's just like, are you fucking kidding me? And then you just see Howard Jones just going nuts on the track, and everyone's just like, holy shit, it happened.
Yeah, that's pretty intense, you know. And I think that's great to see, you know, because, you know, and to the point, into your reaction, someone who's been a fan since, you know, that was Killswitch was my high school, like, get a 30-pack, play beer pong with my friends CD, you know. So you know, what's great is, you know, another story here is, you know, in a previous life, in a previous band with Nicole, we actually got an opportunity to open for Killswitch Engage, which, you know, if you would have told my 16-year-old self, who was pounding a Coors Light in my friend's parents' basement, you know, I don't think that would have happened, you know. And so that was a pretty cool thing. But, you know, the vocalist conversation is an ongoing one for us. You know, I do vocals myself, but not at the level that we want. And not to say that I suck. It's just that, let me tell you, playing bass in this band and trying to sing, it's not fucking happening.
Or what could potentially happen too is if you guys do end up getting a vocalist, you could potentially provide some backing vocals at some time as well to provide potentially, say you get a female lead vocalist, you can provide some of that comparison and contrast style with a heavier style vocal from yourself.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. Is we're looking for that. I love being able to support a vocalist on stage as a bass player. Being able to support the backgrounds, bring some of that CD sound to the stage, I think is really important. A lot of bands, will play their vocal background tracks, right? And I think there's a degree where background tracks are good and they're a good thing to have, but there's a certain amount I think you're ruining the live feel of the show, and you definitely want to be able to bring that genuine experience. And I love being able to support doing background vocals, so definitely something that I want to see. And you give me a mic, man, I'll scream into it. I grew up in that new metal phase when metal was actually on the charts.
Yeah, so so I'm thinking like Korn, Slipknot, Disturbed,
Mudvayne,
Mudvayne. Yep. So it does make sense for all of a sudden. And then with some of those vocalists as well that were in that time, like you got like Jonathan Davis, you've got Corey Taylor, you got David Draymond, who I always think stands above and beyond the rest just because his vocal style is so completely different from all theirs. It has that like prophetic preachy style to it, which is just, it fits so damn well. So you do have a lot of...
His voice is definitely going to be, you either love it or you're like, I can't listen,
Yeah, and I still remember first hearing it while playing Guitar Hero, hearing Stricken for the first time, and I'm just like, what the hell is that? Because it was something I'd never heard before, but I'm like, I'm oddly intrigued by this. So I started listening to more, and then they were my favorite band in middle school.
Bring me back to my varsity hockey days. That's when we jumped on the ice to Down with the Sickness.
Yes. Just nothing beats all of a sudden you guys are just waiting to jump on the ice and all of a sudden just hear, oh, and just go.
Yes, that's it. All of a sudden you find yourself skating a lot faster.
Oh, very much. I remember because I played soccer when I was in high school. It was like there was one game we had where we always played on we always played at a field that was like over 15 miles away from where we actually attended high school, just because it was the best field we could find at that point. But there was always one game we'd play at a field that was a lot closer. It was at a local university, and they had a PA system that's like, oh yeah, you guys want to play some basically like some warm up music, and it's like, yeah, sure. So everyone was kind of submitting songs. I was mad because none of my songs got picked. Apparently, they didn't want to listen to a bunch of punk rock and heavy metal. So I was like, oh, come on, that gets you jazzed up. And I was listening to what they were playing. It was all like hip hop, rap, and pop. I'm like, oh man, this ain't getting me jazzed up at all.
Yeah, I know. I know what that's like. Getting Glass to pick the songs at the party,
Yeah, and even when I was in college too, all my friends told me stay away from the aux chord because they're always playing whatever was popular in like the mid 2010s, like Kendrick Lamar, Fetty Wap, and whatever else was popular. And I just wanted to play. It's like, Kevin, don't touch it. I'm like, why? Because you're gonna play Rise Against again. So that's what I want to listen to, man.
Listen, if you put something on that you love and everyone turns, you did something right.
Yeah, everyone, I'd put it on and people would turn. I'm just like, yeah, and then my one friend was like, nope, can't. I'm like, oh, come on. The only song that I played from Rise Against that they didn't turn off on me right away was Savior because it's a good tune. Like no one's gonna turn that off.
If you can get that one person who's enjoying the music you're playing in a group setting, you're like, yes,
it's like
my mission is done.
You're my friend now.
This guy knows. He knows.
Exactly. And then I was jumping back into the music as well that you guys have created with Kallias. It's because I was listening to the instrumentals on it, and one thing that really stood out to me, especially on the Fourth Phase EP, was the guitar work, especially from the lead guitar that was going to be played. And the reason it stuck out to me so much was because it had the feeling like it could have been the vocals itself. Because that's just the way it sounded. It was the most prominent thing, and the way it flowed, it had this sound like you could literally just write a vocal style and just have it follow note for note, word for word, and it would fit in perfectly. So it was like the standout moment on that, and without any kind of vocals, like it created that vocal setting for itself.
Yeah, and you know that's what we aim for with the lead vocal. I mean, the lead guitar. I mean, that's really why we has that name, right? It's to really lead that melody and to drive that. You know, and I think all of us, when we approach our lines and when we approach our music, it is we're not doing it in a way where it's how do we support the vocalist, because Nicole and I and I'm sure Zachy and JP all have been in that. Can you just lay back? This is, you know, this is the verse, or just don't play too much here because this is the vocals time. And I think a lot of that, when you're in an instrumental band, it's no longer there, and it elevates the what each instrument needs to bring to the music. So for instance, when I sit down to write as the bass player, you know, every single note is very is meticulous, is labored over. I'll play it over and over and over again until I feel like the right line is there. And I know in the fourth phase, the prominence of that song is the guitar. And we were lucky enough to have a guest in the end with the solo, Rick Graham, who just really just, if the song was already lifting off the ground, he just, you know, just put it on a Saturn V rocket and blasted it off into orbit. And you know, we felt pretty lucky to have that, and that he was eager and excited to be a part of it. But you know, I think what we would like to do is after having that bar set, you know, now Zachy knows and Nicole know what they need to do. You know, they just need to get a solo that's just this much better than Rick Graham, and then, you know, the internet will go on fire, and then, you know, we can retire.
Then you can retire. That's a great way to put it. Then you can just do whatever the hell you want. Every day will be Saturday for you guys. It's like, wake up on, what day is it? It's a Tuesday. No. It's Saturday for me. Oh yeah.
And I just saw I don't know what it was on TV, but it was just showing a clip of a Metallica concert like 30 years ago. The size of the crowd, it like these European festivals.
Oh yeah.
It blows my mind. Like, it's a small city. It's actually a large city that's like at the show.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, how big is the city? Yeah, it might have like a 15,000 people population. How many people are attending that Metallica concert? It's like, where there was an AC/DC concert that was in Russia. They had to move it to an airfield. They had to put the stage on a runway because of how many people were going to be at that show. It was the only place that could possibly hold all those people.
Runway. Wow.
Yeah, a freaking runway. It was like, it was close to 1 million people. It's
wow,
like,
that is insane.
I'm also thinking like the logistical nightmare of getting people just out of that venue after the show has to be just insane. But
well, in our conversation of running out to the bathroom and finding your friend, I don't think that was happening at that show.
Oh God, no! Oh dear Lord! See, that's the kind of show I'm thinking like I would definitely be going to that show myself, because oh my God, you might get lost in so many people. Yeah, but if I go with someone, I'm gonna lose them completely, no matter what.
Definitely.
I mean, if you start crowd surfing, you're gonna be crowd surfing for like a quarter mile before you get to the front.
Actually, that might be the best crowd surfing you've ever had. You know, nothing's worse than a short crowd surf, right? You actually get lift off, and then you're back down. You know, that's less bummer.
Yeah, and like a lot of the shows that I go to or had been going to before COVID, damn you. Like it's all a lot smaller areas where people, it's like, okay, you crowd surf, you jump up and you're up for maybe 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden security's pulling you down the front and telling you go that way to get back out, just get back out there. And of course, they never cared how many times you crowd surf. All they cared about was that you didn't fall flat on your face when you got to the front of the stage. Yeah. But there's been a couple of times where with those larger crowds, it's either festival crowds or just larger venues that can hold crowds. Because this was in October of 2019, and I really wanted to do this because I was seeing it was Beartooth, I Prevail, and Day to Remember. And during a Day to Remember, they're going to do their crowd surfing, the crowd surfer. And I'm like, this is the time I really want to crowd surf. And I looked at where I was in the crowd, and I was already right up against the rail in the front of the stage. I'm like, okay, there's no way in hell I'm doing this, because it's like, for me to try and crowd surf, I'm literally going over the front already.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've seen people do that where they jump up and they literally just roll over the front 2, 3 rows and like right into the security guard's arms. I'm like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, so then you got to go all the way back around. I mean, maybe it's just to get all the way. Maybe it's just to do that, just to get to the back end of the stage or the crowd and do it again, just so you get that
Maybe you
longer
know.
runway.
Maybe you're onto something, Kevin. Maybe I just didn't know.
Maybe I'll be honest with you, I've never crowd surfed before. I was gonna do it for the first time this year. I had it all planned out. I was gonna do it I was gonna go see Volbeat, and cause I like I was talking about, we always I was going to shows by myself. That's what I do. That one I actually had friends that had already bought their own tickets for, and we were gonna meet there. I'm like, okay, cause then you guys can hold my stuff so nothing falls out of my pocket while I crowd surf.
That's the only time you can do it. You gotta have you gotta have your girl with you. You gotta have that bud with you. You can hold on my wallet and my keys and my phone.
Yeah, it was because there was about 5 or 6 of us that were gonna go, and it's one of my friends I've known since I was 3 years old. His girlfriend's a huge Volbeat fan, so both of them were gonna go, and I told her that we were gonna crowd surf. She's like, "Well, who's gonna hold our stuff?" I'm like, "Oh, Jeff's gonna hold our stuff." "Oh yeah, he'll hold our stuff. We'll be fine." And I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this." Then COVID.
Hey man, we had tickets for our shows handed out to friends, family, fans alike, and sorry, no show and no toilet paper for you. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Just the insult to injury.
Now I'm kind of want to go remember that Day to Remember concert, because at the end of the show they were throwing toilet paper around the whole entire crowd. I'm like, I wish I would have kept a couple of those rolls.
See, if you would have known, you could have sold those things on eBay in the spring for a pretty good penny.
I could have sold toilet paper for $50 a roll, maybe even more. and actually probably could have sold for $150 a roll. Vintage toilet paper, certified, thrown at the crowd during a Day to Remember concert.
Oh, that's definitely like a 20% premium.
Oh, easily. I could just gone on like Instagram and like posted on it, and there probably would have gotten a bunch of fans like, "Hey, can I get some of that? Is it signed? How the hell am I supposed to know?
I remember I got a drumstick from an El Nino concert. What's that worth?
Not entirely sure at this moment. I've still got some. There's some blood on the floor of the rave here in Milwaukee. There was a little drop still on the floor. I'm like, that's gotta be from me because they had this whole entire thing where, as a venue, they're still trying to make money during this time. The venue's supposedly haunted, so they had like a blackout session where all the lights were off. You get to walk through with a flashlight and just explore.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was going with a friend, and she was kind of like trying to like find the ghosts. I was just remembering, like, I remember when I started bleeding here. I remember when I got knocked in my ass here. I remember when someone hit me in the head here. I remember when I got elbowed in the back and like had like a huge back spasm right there. Memories.
Yep. I remember when I almost got knocked out. I remember when I got that nosebleed. Yeah.
I remember when I almost broke. I was gonna say I remember when I almost broke my nose, but that was at a different venue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good times. Good times. But alcohol, I don't really drink anymore, but mosh pits and alcohol, I mean, it'll really carry you far.
Oh yeah, I'd never drink at shows though, for the sole purpose of I don't want to get to a point where it's like I drink too much and then I can't get into a mosh pit, because if I do, I'm gonna be so sloppy, I'm just gonna get destroyed, get hurt, have to get carted out of there, end up having to go to the hospital for some reason, having to deal with doctor bills. I just don't want to do that. Plus, I want to enjoy the show fully, so I want to make sure it's like I get that full on just feel of it. Now, if it's a certain rock show where you're not gonna necessarily get that mosh pit going, like the one I drank at in 2020 was I saw Alter Bridge. I'm like, if there's gonna be no mosh pits going, I can just enjoy and chill with this one.
That's with Mark Tremonti.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I still have no idea how he does some of the stuff he does. I was watching like, how? Like pretty much like my whole entire face during the show, I was like, huh. I don't know how to play guitar, but then guitar players don't even know how to do that.
Good guitar player.
It was, and we'll see what happens with Zachy and Nicole if they can get up to that level with those 8 strings.
I think they definitely got it.
I mean, they, after listening to that EP, they definitely have it. And I mean, one of the songs I liked was the first song of it, which was, I believe it was called Foes. If I pronounced that right, it was PHOS. So it Foes, should be. Yeah. And because I love that, like initially, like you just listen to it, it has that fast pace feel behind it. I kind of call it like chugga chugga style, where it's like everything's going super fast. Like you're going super fast on it. Whoever's playing the rhythm guitar at that point is just constantly going like kind of. I was like thinking, man, it's like chugga chugga crabcore kind of thing. Like throw me back to attack really heavy, and then drumming
Yeah.
with a lot of the double kicks. I'm like, ooh, this is great. But then you had that just like a higher pitch, higher distortion, a little bit djenty in a way, lead guitar that I was talking about that brought forward that feeling of, okay, we're going to get more of this lead guitar with a different tone to it that kind of also plays off in the vocals in its own way as well that could easily do that. And I absolutely loved it as the stand on that track because you had that contrasting style and it just gives the whole entire power to the song just based off of that. A lot of people I could see really getting into this and just really enjoying this song off of that fact. And I loved, again, just the fast-paced, the heaviness of it. It just really stood out hard. So if it was something where you guys were playing at a bar or something, and I was walking across the street, and all of a sudden I just heard this being played, I'm just like, I'd be walking, all of a sudden turn around. Alrighty, here's my ID, sir. I need to get into this bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, when I'm on stage, when I'm playing music like this, I like to have a lot of fun, and I actually haven't been on stage so much with this newer bass of mine, which is that 6 string and it's super heavy, and so it's going to be interesting to see like how high I can jump or bend backwards with this bass and break stage at the same time. But yeah, I mean the song kicks ass. It's definitely the the song that it got me into the project. Um, and I think the reason why I was in was because I was like, the fuck you play bass to this? you know? And because of that, I was like, man, I've studied so much music, so many different styles, and I don't think a bass player has really attacked this style, you know, with an aggressive in an aggressive way where, you know, the bass line demands prominence, or, you know, and it's not just playing the guitar line. And you know, I borrow from a lot of different players, and over the years, just growing up, and who I've listened to, whether it was Les Claypool or Ryan Martini from Mudvayne, and you know, putting all that kind of funk and metal together, and my jazz and classical training into this style of music was something that, you know, I thought that I could bring into the fold and really just kind of give it something else. And you know, you're mentioning that powerful drumming. You know, it's how do you add something without getting in the way? Something has so many notes, right? There's so many chugga chuggas, right? And so many, you know, we call it genty, and you know, how do you put a bass line in there? And I think that was the challenge, and that's the challenge with the music is how do you keep up with it, but also not just keep up. How do you and how do you lift it? How do you make it better? What do you bring to the table?
Yeah,
And Fos is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, you're looking to elevate the music with your bass, but you're not looking to overpower it at the same time as well. Because there's times like you can always add a bass line in there, like a solo bass line, and just be super duper cool with it. I mean, I've heard some of those. You know, you get those funky bass lines, or like there's a couple times where maybe you throw it even way further back. A couple times that Rush would do something like that with Geddy Lee on the bass. And it's just like, ooh, that's interesting. All of a sudden, you just hear Neil Peart come right back in with some crazy drum fills. Like, okay, now this was awesome. But like bringing something like that to the fold really helps out. Plus, with your jazz and classical background as well, that can also always be used as a positive due to the fact that what other bands are going to have a bass player that has that background and can potentially bring some of those pieces into their music?
Yeah, and you know, me and Nicole come from a very very different like upbringing with music. You know, she kind of learned it on her own on the road, you know, so to speak, and I was kind of more like in school, right? And you know, it's interesting to work alongside someone so well when you don't speak the same language necessarily. They say music is a universal language, but there's definitely a proper dialect, right? To speak it.
Yeah.
And in the way that we communicate, it's not necessarily like that, and it's never been like that. Um, so that's a whole nother element of it, I think, too. That it makes music different. I like to think about, I always think of like, you think of Jimi Hendrix, right? Not schooled guy, not like, he didn't have the Suzuki method growing up, and he didn't go to Philharmonics after school. Um, but what he brought to the table was his own experience with his instrument, and I think that's what happens with Nicole. Um, and because she has that style, Zachy actually is more of a trained drummer. We did go to school for music as well, and um, having these different experiences with music and putting them together is really effective, because Nicole can bring something to the table that needs to be translated. And I think that's what the stricter um, musician in us kind of bring out of her, and what she brings out of us is that a lot of that raw energy. Um, she one of the funniest things is Zachy had said about Nicole is when he heard her play, he just straight up looked at her and said, what did someone do to you to play like that? It was just like so hilarious, because Nicole is very personable, and not when you listen to her guitar and her aggressive guitar style, it's not her personality, so to speak. So it's definitely cool to hear that, and the way we all come together from those different backgrounds, I think is what gives our group that dynamic that we have.
It absolutely has to, because you're all coming from different backgrounds, coming from different experiences, and you learn these things in so many different ways. Plus, you guys have different backgrounds and different things, like you with more of that classical jazz background at the same time as well, as Zachy having that drummer background at the same time as well, and Nicole coming up and basically learning on the fly, learning on the road. So you're going to get so many different experiences, and that diversity in experience really can come together and create so many different sounds, because maybe the way you see something on a certain track is not the way that Nicole sees something, but maybe her idea and your idea can match up perfectly and make the certain song absolutely pop, just based on fusing those two ideas or fusing those two thoughts together. Like maybe you have a different progression that you want to work with, but Nicole's got an idea of, okay, I like that progression, but it's got to sound this certain way to really work that you might not have been thinking about. And then you just play it, see how it fits, and it fits absolutely perfectly in what you're trying to do. So it's just that kind of different experience, that kind of different mindset that can really amplify so many different songs that you have and so many different songs that you're going to have going forward.
Yeah, and I think the precision in the music comes from the way we all can interpret each other's parts, because we all understand what we're trying to do. I understand what JP's trying to do. I understand what Nicole's trying to do. Zachy understands what JP's going to do, and because you can't forget, Zachy plays drums, right? So while Zachy is interpreting what Nicole wants, he's hearing what JP's trying to do, and he's actually hearing it on a level that I'm not hearing it, because he's a drummer. So he's actually hearing what JP wants to do or trying to do, and he's able to provide some more insight into that. And I think that makes the writing process pretty easily, because I know I've been in a lot of bands, right? You look at the drummer, you're like, no, like play like this, like, ride on the crash, or just, give me one of these, like give me a fill, right? But like when Zachy's talking to JP, it's more like, no, play like the triplet feel on the double bass while you're playing the tom roll, but like then the 6/4 feel. And it's like just speaking that language that the drummer is able to really understand, as opposed to the guitar player going, just give me that fill.
Yeah, it's kind of like something that would be similar to use the Foo Fighters, for example, too, because there's probably a good amount of times where Dave Grohl's coming up with an idea and has a great idea of what he wants Taylor Hawkins to do, but because Dave Grohl's background initially was in drumming, it's like, okay, he probably has the exact same kind of feel that Zachy does, so that's where you're going to get a lot of that more technical precision with the drumming, where it's like Zachy's going to get, if he's got an idea, he's going to describe it so that he gets exactly what he wants out of it to hear it. And if it works, hey, it works. If it doesn't work, well, then we'll try something else. But you're not going to have to like consistently try and figure it out as you go along. It's like, okay, give me this, and just constantly describing what you want. Okay, this, that's what I wanted, but maybe that's not what we want to go with. Let's try this and just keep working off that. And you're not going to have that lost in translation feel as you go forward.
And they push each other too, and I think which was really good. You know, the dynamic between two guitar players and the guitar player who also plays drums. I think they wind up pushing each other really far, and you know, where that leaves me is, you know, I gotta stay caught up. I can't get left behind, right? And I think when I first joined the project, that's where I found myself. I found myself very behind, um, not in my ability to play, but my ability to contribute. And it took a while for me to blend into the music, and to not like this personality wise, just to get my parts in there, because as you can hear, and I always describe it to people, it's like, well, how fast is it? Like, how, you know, what do you have to do? I'm like, you know, that sound you make when you roll your tongue, like, it's that fast. So, you know, how do you make that musical, right? Like, I can play fast, but how do you play fast and make it musical? And that's been the challenge that I think JP has given me with his left and his right foot, on that double bass, because there's so many times where I'm like, man, I gotta play that. Not because, you know, I'm like, I gotta play that as like a challenge. It's like the music needs me to play that. And I found myself having to learn how to, you know, be able to perform at that level. So I've actually developed new techniques, you know, as part of this journey for me. I've discovered new ways of approaching the instrument, new ways of attacking it to get more speed, to get more agility, different sounds. And, you know, that's something I guess I can inadvertently just thank JP for playing his double bass at BPMs that are just beyond normal reason. Um, no one's ever forced me to play that fast before. And you know, it reminds me of when I was at Berkeley College of Music. I took lessons from Matt Garrison, who was Jimmy Garrison's son, who played with I think he played with Miles Davis. And so, you know, he had a lot to live up to. And one of the things he shared with me was like, you know, I grew up, I played in this band, they all played faster than me. He's like, I couldn't play fast enough. So I developed this technique. And that's what he's really known for. He plays this like 4-finger technique, which is just 1, 2, 3, 4. So when he plays the bass, he plays 4 fingers and he can play really fast. But he was like, but your 2 fingers are almost just as fast as my 4. I'm like, yeah, but it's not as fast as your 4. So I found myself 10 years, 15 years later, having to revisit that conversation and going, now is that time where I'm in that group where I need to learn how to play faster just because the music calls for it. And that's when I, you know, work on a new technique, which involves just mainly my thumb, and a lot of quick twitch muscle.
But when it comes down to it too, there's probably not a lot of bass players that'd be willing to try something like that and learn a new technique right on the fly, just because, you know, as humans or creatures of habit, we get stuck into the same old style as we go on. So there's a lot. It's like, okay, you get stuck in it, you become really good at it. You don't necessarily want to change from it. You kind of want to just stick within your comfort zone at times because you want to double down on it because you're just really good at it. However, when it comes to something with, God, I'm gonna mess up the name of the band again. I don't want to mess it up. I'm so sorry. Kallias, thank you, because I'm like, I looked at him like, oh my God, I'm gonna just.
I always wanted to say Kallias when I see it. Like I feel like it has that feel, but you know, we go with Kallias.
I'm just gonna give me one of those could have had a V8 moments, but but yeah, when it comes to Kallias, it's just like, okay, here we go. We got to do something faster. There's probably a lot of bass players that they probably might have been looking at before, where it's like, okay, it works, but you got to play faster, and they just don't want to change their technique from a 2-finger style. So it's like, okay, got to find someone new because they're not willing to just try and really match it up. But then when you come in, it's just like, okay, he's trying something. He's learning. He's trying to figure out how to work with this because he has a lot to bring to the table. So let's see what happens. And all of a sudden, you learn a different technique. You're going to end up playing a lot faster. And it's just like, alrighty, this really works. Because one thing that always stands out with me is if it was easy, then everyone would do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. One of the things that I've I don't know if it's pride, but I try not to play with a pick. I think picks are for guitar players. And what makes a bass player any different than a guitar other than it has less strings, right? And I firmly believe it's the relationship the string has with your fingers. As an upright bass player, the string is the way it hits your finger, it's very purposeful and it impacts the sound tremendously, whether you're plucking a string with just the tip of your finger or you're hitting the string with the whole side of your finger. And when it comes to the bass, it's a very similar thing. So you could probably have played just as fast if I just picked up a pick, but I said, you know what, screw that. I'm going to do it my way. And Victor Wooten can play that fast, so there's no reason why I can't. So.
And that probably also stems from just your classical background as well with the standing bass, because you understand that just the way that you hit it with your finger, whether it's a tip or whether it's with more part of your finger, it's going to produce a different sound. So that just adds so much more to what you already have going on.
It just makes it different too, because like I said, anyone can pick up a pick and it can sound like any other like Blink-182 song, or it's just the picked guitar, the picked bass robs the musician of the sound and the timbre that they get with their right hand. So
interesting, because I've not really seen anyone that's talked about playing a bass without a pick, or most any string instruments without a pick for that matter, because every time someone's playing, it's like, oh, they just don't want to play with it because, they get blisters on their fingers.
Oh, yeah. I know all about that. Crazy glue is your best friend on tour,
Well, as for me, as not the musician, I have no idea about any of this. So it's like, ooh, crap. I have to think about that. Like, oh, what happens? I got big blisters on my fingers. Crazy glue that shit.
Crazy glue, man. Crazy glue is, it could work wonders for a blister right before a show. I learned that from, I think, an article in Bass Player magazine I read as a kid from Flea.
That's not a bad tip, though. I mean, for all you bass players out there, if you guys got blisters, remember, crazy glue.
Mm-hmm. Don't overdo it, though. A little bit goes a long way of crazy glue.
Another good tip right there. Another question about the music is, because I know I asked you this before we started recording, but I got to ask it again. Do you guys have any ideas or any plans on bringing in the standing bass into the music at all?
Right now, there's nothing pending. But you know what? There's enough demand. Like I said, one of the things I did during shutdown was got more intimate with that instrument because I spent a lot of time in here. So she's restrung and I got new bows. So I'm ready to go. Yeah, I can definitely totally make it happen.
I was going to say, if you have the ability to make it happen, because with certain songs and with certain bands that really bring in more of those string instruments, like cello or anything like that, like any kind of standing string instrument, or like a standing bass, there's always just this added theatrical feel to it. It makes some certain songs just sound so much more epic. I mean, a good example is take a listen to the intro to Not Gonna Die by Skillets. Like right away, you're going to get this like super theatrical epic intro just right off of whatever. I think it's a cello, so it might be a little bit different, or probably different. Me speaking from, not very good experience in terms of a string instrument with a bow, but it just it just kind of gives you another instrument to add to the sound, another, just a whole nother thing that you can add to the music. That's something that a lot of people might not be able to do, especially with your classically trained style. You can add so much to it. You just got to do it the right way. That's pretty much what it is. And it's just, again, like I was saying earlier, you don't want to force it. You want to let it happen naturally. But if you guys have a song, it's like, we just need something that really make it pop, that theatrical epic style. Boom, sitting right behind you.
I don't think you got to convince anyone in the band. If I showed up to a recording session with it, they'd all be ready to listen.
Oh shit! Okay, don't have to convince anybody. That's awesome. Just show up. All right, we're ready for this.
Although I just don't know if I can use it as like the main bass for Fos, because I don't know if I can get that like on that. It might be a little challenging.
It might be a little challenging, but then again, sometimes those super challenging things can create the best sounds.
I gotta like channel my inner Stravinsky, if I can really focus in on the flight of the Phoenix.
Oh, you easily could. And then one or two last things I really want to cover before we send you on your merry way to probably keep playing and just having a good time. So with the Fourth Phase EP out now, as of, well, end of October. So by the time you guys are listening to this episode, go and stream it, download it, and do whatever you can to listen to because it is damn good. What's the reception that you've been seeing off of this EP?
Well, it's challenging, right? Because typically as a band, you'd always want to gauge things by, hey, how we doing ticket sales? What do we do at the door? Who showed up today? And it's different now. Even then it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, I've been at this since, being a teenager. So I don't even want to tell you how long it's been now, but it's really about what's our engagement like with fans online. We're seeing really good support out there. Like I said, through our Instagram, JP, Nicole are super active on there for us. And, if people stop by, you shoot a message, we see it all. We engage with you all. And, any comments you guys leave, we check them out, especially if it's, something that you're enjoying, with the YouTube, we got the YouTube videos up. We do a lot of playthroughs and we try to engage with everyone as much as possible. I have a playthrough up on my YouTube, and Warwick Bass will be putting it up on their Facebook when it comes out in a few weeks. And it's been good. I think it's just it's a slow go and you got to keep at it. And over time, as we continue to engage, we're seeing a lot more people join, and hopefully that will lead to feet at the door and eyes on us on stage, because we do this with the hopes of being able to share it in person, because it's great to make all this music and spend all this time together and create all this stuff. But if we don't get to actually share it, that's it. It's not as rewarding for us. So
and for the time that we're in right now with the whole entire coronavirus wackiness, I'm gonna probably just label it as, because it's just too wacky at this point. But being able to connect with your fans and being honestly able to connect with them through responding to those messages personally, that's going to end up creating this sort of like emotional equity in a way where you're just going to end up building it up to the point where people are going to just have this connection with you that they are not going to have with any other band, because they listen to your stuff, they like it, and then they comment on something that you post, and then you comment right back, or they message you guys on something that they like, and you message them right back with something that's genuine instead of just something like, thank you. Like actually responding to them and taking the time to talk to them. You're going to get a lot further, because right now people are valuing just that kind of stuff. They're valuing people being able to reach out to them, and if they reach out to you, just that constant conversation. People are craving that kind of human interaction that they're not getting from many other places. And if you're going to be doing that, you're just going to end up being in the forefront of their minds once this is all over and people are going back to live shows. They're going to end up seeing you play a live show near them, and then they're going to have this idea to think, oh shit, I want to go see them live because I like their style and I connected with them online, to where I sent them a message, wasn't expecting anything in return, and they messaged me back personally with something more personal instead of just saying that blanket, thank you for listening to our music. Like, you actually took the time to message them. That goes a very long way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Whenever anyone approaches with a comment, whether it's online or in person, it's definitely rewarding. It means a lot. That's why we take the time to respond. When I walk up to an artist or a band after a set, I don't do it. I do it with intention. If I'm gonna say nice set, I won't say nice set to someone if I think they suck. I'll just kind of make my way out. But one of the things I recall most recently is I went to see Johnny Craig live, and you could just tell the guy leaves so much on the stage, and I just want to let him know as a fan, like, that was a kick-ass show. I'm so glad I came to see you, and just thank you for putting on that show. And a lot of times you don't realize that if you don't get that genuine thanks, you don't get that gratitude, you're not getting that fulfillment. Maybe they won't show up and give you that show next time. So definitely, you get what you put out.
Oh, easily. It's just those shows that were like those shows where people put it all out there and put all their emotion out there and just go absolutely nuts. And you just can feel that they want to be there. They want to be performing that night. From the crowd, we can feel that. And those are the shows that stick out in our minds.
Absolutely.
I mean, sure, you're going to get the negative shows in there as well that stick out in your mind as well for the negative reasons. But then there are also shows where it's like, okay, they were good, but when you bring it up, it's like, do you remember anything about that show? I remember I was there. That was about it. But when it comes to, there's some shows where it's just you go there and you're watching them and you just get so enamored by what's going on and just the band using their energy, just driving the crowd into this absolute frenzy. It just stirs up so much that you remember that band going forward forever and ever because there's that connection that's there. It's like, it's a personal thing too, because you were there, they were there. No one's ever taken that away from you.
Yeah, it's like when I went to go see Taproot before they separated. In the last tour, he's been around so long, but they started doing this thing where they would grab the iPhones while you're recording them. He would take your iPhone on stage with him. So he would grab your iPhone in the middle of the set on stage and like sing into it, and they walk around the stage and then hand it down and grab someone else's. And it was like, what better souvenir to a show than to have one of your favorite artists do a selfie video on stage of the show you're at. So yeah, little things like that definitely
yeah, it's just those little things go so far. And it's like, yeah, everyone wants to do the big things to get them to go far, but it's just those little things. They can do so much that you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, well, as we're ending 2020 right now and hopefully shows return in 2021 at some point, what's the future looking like for the band for the next, well, for until we know that something different's happening with the COVID situation?
Well, we're going to continue to write. Right now, we're still promoting the EP and the video. We're very, like I said, we're very active on Kallias Official on our Instagram. And, I don't anticipate us booking a show anytime soon because I think we're in a different trajectory right now. But stay tuned. When people start showing up and opening up venues, we're going to be there. Maybe this guy will be there. Probably not. But
whenever an animal shows up in the show, whether it's a cat, a dog, a ferret, I'm always for it.
Yeah, he's actually been like bothering me this whole time, wondering why I'm talking to my computer. I spent a lot of my time talking to computers lately, and I'm sure our animals are wondering what the hell's going on there. But yeah, you know what? We're writing. We're prepared to continue writing until we have a full length ready for our fans. And I do anticipate us having a full length, probably fully written by the summer, because we're well on our way. And hopefully at that time, we'll be able to settle, get some shows together. And who knows, maybe there'll be a guest vocalist. Maybe not a full-time vocalist. But I want to throw a little teaser out there.
Kind of like, I'll say kind of like that Apocalyptica route when they had, like 2006, when they had Corey Taylor and Adam Gontier featured on one or two songs. And it was just like, holy shit, that really worked out well.
Yeah, we've had some interest here and there to do it. It just hasn't come to fruition yet, but definitely, the right person sinks their teeth into the right song. And we think it's a go. Stay tuned.
Just stay tuned, everybody. Listen to the Fourth Phase EP. Follow these guys online, and if you feel like respond or ask them a question or send them a message, do it. They'll respond.
That's right.
And as we close this out, Chris, I always like to give you the last chance to say whatever you want, whether it's to plug anything, whether it's just to say something nice or say a joke, rip on me for some reason. I don't know why, but the floor is yours to do whatever you want.
I just want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you giving the opportunity to come on here and share our music. The band is Kallias. We're a 4-piece from New Jersey. And if you like heavy music with a little bit of a beautiful side to it here and there, come check out Kallias.
That's a great way to put it. And I will always say this. Well, when it comes to finding Kallias online, whether it's on their socials where they will respond to you, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's to stream anything that they have, you guys have to just look at the description of the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Podcast, Google Play. iHeartRadio. In the description of the podcast, you'll find something that says find Kallias online, and you're just going to have the links, and they're going to be labeled for you. I'm making it as easy as possible for you guys to find Kallias. So don't worry, I got you covered.
Sweet.
And Chris, I do not like to end these podcasts by saying goodbye because that kind of makes it feel like, it's like, all right, that's the end, not going to see you again. And that's not something that I want, because after listening to the Fourth Phase EP with how insane that heavy metal instrumental sounds, holy crap. Yeah, I want to see you guys live at some point. So once concerts come back, if I'm ever out in your neck of the woods, or you're ever out in my neck of the woods, and I see you guys just show up and like, oh, hey, they're going to be playing here. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be out there. They're playing here tonight too. Alrighty, I'm going to be there. And if you guys get a mosh pit going, if you see someone, start bleeding or something, or lose their hat, lose their shoe, there's a good chance it's going to be me.
Well, we know you Midwesterners love heavy music, so there's no doubt that we're going to be coming through there.
Awesome. I can't wait for it, and that's why I can't end this with goodbye. So I got to end it with my classic, because it's true. See you later.
I'll see you.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Chris from Kallias, the band out of New Jersey, an instrumental heavy metal band that is absolutely awesome. So if you guys want to get in the know with Kallias, please take a look at the description of this podcast. All the links for everything social media, streaming-wise, YouTube, it is all there for you to like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends, listen to all that stuff, and just share the album. And we'll see what happens when they continue writing, when they get out there in terms of being able to play live shows, and just how awesome this is going to be. And especially if they get that, especially if they get that vocal feature on there, who it might be. Holy crap. We could basically have another Apocalyptica on our hands. I'm being dead serious. So get in the know with them right now. And that's going to be for me today, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. Brought to you by MSOTD Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end everything on one. That was the big, healthy, and hearty. See